One day in 1949, a small, troubled young man came to a police station in the suburbs of England.
I think I killed my wife.
The man named Timothy Evans confessed to dumping his wife in the sewers of Lillington Street, and he said that she died after taking the birth control pills incorrectly. Police rushed to the scene, but instead of finding the body at the location he said, they found the body of his wife, Beryl, in the laundry room of the apartment where he lived. But it wasn't just Beryl. Even the Evans' little baby Geraldine was also found strangled with a tie. And then Timothy was being investigated for the murder of two people, his wife and child. Timothy, who is somewhat less intelligent, retracted his statements several times, and in the end, he claimed that his old neighbor John Christie had killed his wife and daughter.
Christie offered to help my wife get birth control. But Beryl died during his operation, so he said that Geraldine was going to be put up for adoption.
The police also visited the Christie couple, but not only them, but also the neighbors around told unfavorable stories to Timothy, saying that the Evans often quarreled each other. And John Christie, a retired postman, wasn't even the type of expert for birth control. However, when Timothy stood in court, he insisted more strongly on John Christie's crime, and because of this Christie also had to appear at the trial.
I participated in the last war for the country, and now I can't walk well because I'm old and my knees pain is so bad. How could I possibly kill young Beryl and her baby?
Timothy, on the other hand, had no answer to the judge when he was asked for the reason why John Christie killed his wife and child. In the end, he was executed for the murder of his wife and baby. 2 years later, John Christie's wife, Ethel Christie, went missing. And after about a year, John Christie, who had been living through his wife's economic activities, left his house and moved from place to place for the homeless. However, a new tenant family in the house where the Christie had lived felt a strange stench inside, so they opened the closet and found 3 rotting bodies. The police who visited the scene additionally found out the body of Ethel Christie on the floor of the living room, and also found 2 more bodies in the garden of the apartment building. A wanted order is issued for John Christie, the prime suspect, and 10 days after that, he was arrested on the streets. He initially admitted to his crimes only on the 4 bodies found inside his home. But in the end, he admitted to murdering the other deads as well, including Beryl and Muriel. In the process of confessing, John Christie was consistent with lies and evasion of responsibility just like normal psychopaths do. He pleaded not guilty through his lawyer, saying the crime was caused by his insanity, but the trial was concluded after only a few days, and his death sentence was carried out 2 weeks after that. The reason why John Christie was executed so quickly was because of the burden on the judiciary for the case of Timothy Evans, who died wrongly in the past, to be exposed again. John Christie was born in Yorkshire, England in 1898. Christie, who was not very attractive to women, suffered from sexual dysfunction and hypochondria as he grew up. During World War I, he left school and served as a signalman on the battlefield at the age of 15. At this time, he had been leaked into poison gas, also known as mustard bomb, and the experience influenced his later crimes. John Christie, who was unable to have normal sexual relations, started visiting prostitutes at the age of 19 to relieve his abnormal sexual desire. Even after marrying Ethel, he visited prostitutes and committed various crimes such as rape, molestation, and theft, and he was divorced by his wife. In 1943, 21-year-old Austrian woman Ruth Fuerst became Christie's first victim. Christie impulsively strangled Ruth to death, and the murdered young foreign prostitute was buried under the ground in the common garden of his apartment. He was able to feel extreme transcendental pleasure at the sight of the victim dying, and the following year found the next sacrifice to feel that pleasure again. She was Muriel Eddy, a 32-year-old neighbor. Tricked by Christie's suggestion that intermittent chest pains can be cured with a special remedy, she inhaled a crude carbon monoxide concoction and lost her consciousness. In this state, Muriel was raped and strangled, then she was buried with Ruth in the same garden. In 1948, Timothy Evans and his wife Beryl moved to Lillington Avenue. And this young couple soon had a baby and named the baby Geraldine. But after this, Beryl became pregnant with her second child. The young couple became more worried and quarreled. Because Timothy's low education did not guarantee a stable income, the two of them were very concerned when Beryl was pregnant. Christie offered to give the poor couple an illegal but safe birth control procedure, and in the end Beryl, her unborn baby, and Geraldine became his new victims. Beryl was killed by Christie's grotesque sexual ritual as she was strangled and assaulted while she was inhaling the weird gas made by the old man. After that, Timothy Evans came back home and John Christie told him that Beryl had already overdosed some pills before the procedure on her and that she was in critical condition. John also said to him that he should leave the Lillington street to not inform the police of Beryl's death. However, contrary to Christie's plan, Timothy went to the police and later that brought John Christie to the court. But Ethel, who was increasingly convinced that her husband John was the real murderer of Beryl and Geraldine, one day told Christie that she would return to her parents' house alone. So John strangled his wife while she was sleeping that night. John Christie, who even killed his wife, freely expresses his temperament as a perverted killer. Not long after he killed his wife, he summoned 3 prostitutes in mid-20s one by one into his home and killed them serially. However, Christie, who could no longer afford to pay for the rent, was forced to leave the house, which smelled of the rotting bodies. And he was eventually arrested after the deeds was found. The case of Timothy Evans, who was a bereaved family member who lost his wife and child but was unfairly framed as a murderer and executed, influenced the abolition of the death penalty in England later.